Welcome back to a new episode, you guys. MxPx.com for all your good stuff. It's been quite a week, but let's just talk. Let's just get into this. MxPx is getting so busy. I know I always say that every week. It really is true. Coming up, we got a bunch of dates. Friday, September 26th, Bend, Oregon at Century Center, and then Saturday, September 27th, Boise, Idaho, Treefort Music Hall. That is next week. That's happening. Wait, that's this week. That's this week. Are you kidding me? Once we start our run, we just never stop. I mean, we're going all the rest of the year, and then we're going into 2026. We got a bunch of shows, so it's going to be insane. October, not only do we have Halloween coming up, what are you going to be? What's your costume? What are you going to dress up as? I think I'm going to be Finn from Adventure Time. It's a cartoon. My kids always choose the costumes these days, and then I just dress up how they want me to. Maybe a couple years ago, I was a British soldier. That was awesome. That was when my son was super into the Revolutionary War. So I was a British soldier. It was awesome. Anyway, October 24th, Quebec City at Theater Capitole. Saturday, October 25, Montreal, MTELUS. Low ticket alert for both of those shows. Do not wait. If you're going to go and you don't have tickets, please get those tickets. And then we'll be enjoying that next weekend after those shows. That's Halloween. So I don't even know if Halloween's on a weekend, to be honest. I didn't look at the calendar. December is going to be, November. I forgot November. November, we're doing Thursday. We're doing 4 shows in November, all back to back. November 13th, Louisville, Kentucky at Mercury Ballroom. Friday, November 14th, St. Louis, Missouri at the Pageant. Saturday, November 15th, Fayetteville, Arkansas at Ozark Music Hall. Sunday, November 16th, Oklahoma City at Tower Theater. Going to be awesome. That's November. That's my birthday month. Come celebrate with me. Would love to see you. December, big show coming up in Pheonix, Arizona. Saturday, December 6th, Punk Rock Christmas. Face to Face, the Vandals, Authority Zero, Voodoo Glow Skulls, Slick Shoes. The list goes on. It's awesome. And then I would love to see you there. Goldfinger's going to have a couple shows, at least one show before the end of the year or 2 shows. But we've got some shows next year. But MxPx is kicking off the new year again, not right at New Year's, but January 9th, Vancouver, BC, Commodore Ballroom. Tickets are low. Don't wait on that because that show is with the Suicide Machines, not with the Ataris. The Ataris couldn't make that weekend. So that is January 2026, January 9th, Vancouver, BC, Commodore Ballroom. If you're Canadian, you must be there. Saturday, January 10th, Seattle, Washington at the Showbox. Sold out. Thank you. Of course, it's a place we always sell out. I never take it for granted. I'm always thankful. So thank you very much. Friday, January 23rd, Santa Cruz, California at the Catalyst. It is going to be so cool to be back there. I heard the Foo Fighters just played a show at the Catalyst, which is very small for them, and it's actually kind of small for us too. So don't wait on your tickets for that. And then Saturday, January 10, Saturday, January 24, San Francisco, California at the Fillmore. I am so pumped to be back at the Fillmore. Tom Wisniewski, our guitar player, loves that place. Anyway, we'll see you guys there. I'm really excited for these shows. MxPx.com for the proper links. Don't get ripped off. Go to MxPx.com. The links are all there. The links are probably all on my podcast notes page as well. So if you go to the podcast site, go to the page. It's right here on whatever you're listening on. There should be notes. All right, let's get into it. I hope you're doing well. I know a lot of people are manic this week and last week. It's just been insane in the news and assassinations and everything going on. So I wanted to just bring us back down to MxPx. And I'm not saying ignore your life or ignore what's going on around you, but you don't always have to be tuned in 100% of the time. So that's why I do this podcast. I've gone back and forth, of course. Sometimes I talk about current affairs, and really I've been mainly just talking about evergreen subjects on the podcast, which what I mean by that is things that are going to be relevant if you listen now, today, when it comes out, or if you listen 2 years, 3 years from now. It's still going to be something interesting having to do with music, having to do with the way we do things, even if it's outdated, it's still kind of interesting because you're hearing about the real nitty gritty of what it was like to be in a band, what it's like to be a creator, what it's like to be posting on social media all the time, all of these things coming into play. And I think this episode's no different. We'll see what happens. We're going to take a couple voicemails from you, and we'll just get into whatever it is you want me to talk about. All right, let's do it. Like I said, MxPx.com, we have more than just ticket links. We've got merchandise. We've got vinyl, 100, a couple different variants on that. Like I had earlier, these grill tools. These are so high quality. I've been using these to cook all of my items on the grill this summer. So you can get a bunch of stuff. We have steak seasoning. You can put this on other things, not just steak, but we love it. We love it here. We appreciate you. All right, you guys, let's get into let's just make this short and sweet and nice and see what happens here. Here we go. Here's Nate.
Hey, what's up, Mike? This is Nate. I'm listening to the podcast right now, and I had to pause for a second because I don't want to forget my idea, but because there's a lot of hockey guys like myself calling in, and I know you love the Kraken, I think we should do an MxPx, or if you guys could do it, an MxPx hockey jersey that you have on your website, the merch website. You could do it like Herrera number 9, that'd be kind of cool, or you could do whatever on that, or, it could be the 93 or whatever. But I think it'd be cool to have a MxPx hockey jersey. I think that'd be awesome, especially in the cooler months for sure. But an idea for a podcast is also getting that mascot for the Kraken on and have them tell a story about that grizzly bear that charged in. I thought that was kind of crazy. So that'd be a cool podcast to hear how that went down. But looking forward to hear the rest of the podcast. I'm getting on now. And, go Kraken, go Bruins. I got to say Bruins too for my Boston team, but my other team's the Kraken. So awesome. Thanks, Mike. Bye.
Nate, what up, dude? That is a great idea, honestly. People have had the jersey idea a few times, and we've been thinking about, maybe doing jerseys, but doing Herrera number 9, I never thought about that. That would be awesome. I've got a Kraken jersey with my last name on it and number 9 because that's my number. So it'd be perfect to just do MxPx ones like that. We probably would do more of a MxPx version rather than a Mike Herrera version, but I would love to get one made for me. I love this idea. We have an MxPx t-shirt that is a Kraken t-shirt. It's the Pokénacha Punk in his Kraken jersey with his hockey stick, and he's like skating on ice skates. It's awesome. So, we could do something like that on a jersey, make it more into a logo. I'm down. I love it. I love the idea. I think it's a great idea. I think the fact that we haven't done it is probably just because we've been busy and we're already doing other things. But yes, that's going to go into the lineup. It's going to go into the idea pot, and we'll see what Mary and Mark and my mom can come up with as far as that goes. So MxPx merch arsenal, check out the merch arsenal. I think we do have that hockey t-shirt in the merch arsenal. And it's a really good quality shirt as far as the design looks awesome. And that was... honestly, that was James Stuckey, the assistant equipment manager that I had on the podcast a while back. That was his idea. He was like, hey, I want to get the Pokénacha Punk in a Kraken jersey, in skates, playing hockey, but I want to get that tattoo. Do you have anything? And I was like, no, I don't. This was 2 years ago. I was like, no, I don't. And it just got my mind going, and the gears started rolling, and hey, let's get the Pokénacha Punk playing hockey in a Kraken jersey. Let's make it Seattle sports all the way. Our blues, because we've done a number 12 shirt with not a Seahawks logo, but Seahawks colors. And so we're always down. We support our teams here in Seattle all the way. And to be honest, I don't hate other teams. There's other teams that I do hate, to be honest, but it's just a pure fun rivalry type hate. I don't truly hate, and I would never get in a fight with fans of another team or anything like that. So I appreciate you loving the Kraken as well as your home team, the Bruins. So very cool. Nate, great idea. I think we're gonna see it eventually. I think it's gonna happen eventually. All right, let's get to another one. Here we go. Here's Michael.
Hello, Mike. This is Michael again, and I wanted to say many thanks for answering my question about the roles of different band members. I do have another question for you, and this one is about Darren Doane and David Shannon. I downloaded and read Darren's newest ebook, which is called Don't Be Precious. For any fans who may be interested in it, you can download it for free and read the whole thing in a day or two. I think the main thing that Darren is driving home is that if you're a creator, you need to be willing to get your creative works out there and know how to respond if the audience doesn't jump on them right away. Darren does a great job of encouraging artists to overcome both fear of failure and paralysis by analysis. And you've also done an excellent job with this on your podcast for years and years. In addition to the book, I listened to Darren and David's appearance on the Capitole Record podcast back on June the 20th of 2024. And they really got into a lot of the themes that they work with their clients on. On that podcast, they really did a deep dive into how social media has changed how small businesses interact with their customers, and that at its core, social media is really a tool that facilitates human interaction rather than replacing it. And that understanding this can be the key to success, regardless of whether the staff members of a particular small business are the most talented and skilled in the marketplace or not. The other thing that they got into is how the gatekeepers of traditional media are gone and that everybody is siloed now. Then they got into how the hobbyists of the world don't really seem like they're a threat to big business until big business realizes that there's a gazillion hobbyists doing it. And they really drive home that the little guy can take his destiny into his own hands. Like a lot of us Gen Xers, I can vividly remember the day that I walked into Best Buy back in 1999, started going through the CD racks, and came across more than 100 copies of Baby One More Time by Britney Spears. At the time, it sparked my curiosity because I'd never seen them stock 100 copies of anything at once, not even Guns N' Roses or Celine Dion. Today, we all know that was the day that it seemed like the quote-unquote alternative rock revolution ended, and the music business just kind of moved on from what we like and has never really looked back. Thus, if the world has really changed in the ways that Darren and David are saying, why does it seem like today everyone around us only cares about Taylor Swift, Beyonce, and Drake? How is the world any different today than it was in 1999? I've seen Rick Beato, the retired producer who runs a massive music YouTube channel, point out that the number of Spotify listens that Taylor Swift, Beyonce, and Drake get is actually a very small percentage of the total number of Spotify listens that occur each day. But then Rick turns around and makes another video addressing just how badly the cards are stacked against the little guy, listing all the reasons why. And it sounds like it's 1999 all over again. Mm-hmm. So what am I missing here? Why is what Darren and David are saying just not connecting for me? Love the podcast as always, and many thanks again for taking the time to answer our questions.
All right, there's a lot to unpack here. Thank you for the call. I love the detail, and I love your just organization here, Michael. Very cool. Let me try to answer this question. I mean, let's just go into it. What are you missing? Well, you're saying the world today, it's different and it's the same. So the world today is different. It's changing constantly, but the overall principles of how things work in the world don't change. And I think that's what you're missing. So what doesn't change is money. Money is very important in this equation. It's almost the most important thing. The more money you have, the less obstacles you have. And of course there's still obstacles, but you've got the resources to fight those obstacles. So I think what Darren's trying to say here, and I did read the book, by the way, I read his book. Darren's a genius as far as I'm concerned. He really, you don't have to listen to what he says, but if, because there's always exceptions to every rule, but a lot of what he says, it rings true. Gatekeepers are gone in a lot of sense, at the same time, they're always being built back up. So just because Darren said something, 2 years ago about this book, when he wrote this book, some of the things are going to not be true again, but they're still true. So what I mean by that is gatekeepers, right? What I'm talking about is, let's just make it simple for everybody. Facebook is a gate. Instagram is a gate. And to get to people, you have to go through this gate. You have to get on social media. The gatekeepers might be the people signing bands to a label or to a contract. That's a gatekeeper, right? So yes, the gatekeepers were no longer there for a lot of independent artists. You know, you can go straight to the people with social media, right? You could just right there, boom. Now the problem is there's still gatekeeping, because yes, you can reach 6 million people in the world, or however many billion people, sorry, billion. I meant billion. However many billion people are in the world, 6 billion or whatever it is. Yes, all those people are online, just about, but they're not all going to see what you put out. Like, that's the thing that didn't connect for me in the book. And I'm not saying that what he's saying is wrong at all, but when you post something on Facebook, not all your friends are even going to see it, let alone everybody on the internet. So yes, the possibility of everybody seeing it on the internet is there if you actually had no gatekeepers. If the gatekeepers, the company, had no governor, like an engine governor on your account, or maybe it's not your account, it's like a bunch of accounts, and only this account and this account, gets through. I'm not trying to be conspiratorial here, but there is gates on all of our posts. That's why some posts go viral, right? Because they unleash the gate and they let other people see your post. Most of the time, most posts, there's a glass ceiling. And you can see through it. You can see above, like, where's all these people? Why aren't they seeing my stuff? So in that way, it hasn't really changed. I mean, the algorithm does change for social media and all that, but you can't really expect everybody to see what you're doing. Now, does that mean you shouldn't post? No, you should still get out there and communicate, because if you say something important enough, if you make a video that's good, really amazing, it's going to be seen by more people. That's just straight up. It's going to be seen by more people. Now, what you consider a good video may not be what the gatekeepers are considering a good video, right? Because controversy sells. Controversy gets clicks, and anything that's divisive and negative, a lot of those things get clicks. So if you're out there spreading the good word and happiness and harmony, you're probably not going to get seen by as many people as somebody out there going, I hate this, this is, whatever it is, right? So there are real world things happening here. But let's get back to the broad idea of the book, which is just a call to action against perfectionism. It's called Don't Be Precious. Don't be precious about whatever you're making. Me, I'm a musician. I make music, I make songs, I write songs. I put those songs out, we do shows. There are things that happen that we put out that aren't perfect, but we have to just keep going and keep moving on and keep making things. So the call to action against perfectionism, against the fear of failure, that is what this book is all about. I fully back that. I embrace the mess of creating things and realize it's not going to be perfect every time. It's not going to be perfect most of the time. And if you wait for it to be perfect, you won't get anywhere. You won't do anything. Darren talks a lot about, when people get together with ideas, you're at a company, you're having a meeting in your office, and somebody comes up with an idea like, all right, I want to film a documentary movie about this lady that's raising her children as a single mom, and she's out on a farm, and what is that like, right? And so you get these people like, yes, that's a great, let's do this, let's shoot this. I have a friend that is single and she lives on a farm. She's got a kid. Let's see if she's into it. So everybody kind of gets amped up about their idea and they start going for it. And then somebody goes, well, what if we got like 3 or 4 single moms and we kind of just followed them around and then, so the idea is expanded past the original. The original idea was something that was doable. You could just go out. All right, we could shoot that this weekend, maybe in a couple weekends, a couple weeks, so that there's different things happening throughout the movie or whatever. But we could shoot this pretty easily, pretty quickly. Now you start adding all these ideas onto the original idea, and now it's like, okay, this is going to be harder to do. We need to get a hold of this person. We need to find a few more moms. We're going to need to send a crew of filmers out to this city, this state. Now the budget is blown up 4 times what it was, and quite honestly, I don't know if it's that good of an idea, you know. So he's talking about how, you know, the naysayers in the room are just ruining progress. They're ruining the progress of what could be a really good thing. And think of it this way, like a lot of times when a company gets bought out by a bigger corporation, everything that the customers and the people the patrons of the company that love about this company, they change a lot of those things because it becomes a corporate company. And, you know, there's probably some good things that are happening in there, but we all know it's not the same. It's not the same company. It's not the same people. Even if it is the same people, they're being told to do different things. So that happens when you grow, unfortunately. It's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You know, and I'm not trying to say you should never sell your company, because that could be really good for you and your family. Like that's a very real thing. Now, MxPx, a band, I think it's less likely that somebody would want to buy my band as a company and run it. And what would they do? Like, are you going to get a different singer if I'm not behaving? Like, what's going to happen? Could you imagine that? Like, hey, everybody, we have decided we have a great announcement. MxPx has been bought by the House of Blues company or by Live Nation or whatever it is, right? Like these concert companies. And don't worry, nothing's going to change. We're going to be doing more shows now. That kind of thing, which is wild because we are doing more shows now. Like we're still independent, believe me. But you know, that's the kind of vibe that happens with these smaller companies that, you know, like a backpack company or a clothing company that gets bought out, a finance company that gets bought out, whatever it is, a record label. You don't know how many booking agents that book punk shows and book bands that, you know, they start out independent, and then, you know, the booking agent gets hired by this big booking agency. And so now this booking agent is now part of this big company, and they have a cookie cutter way of doing things. And now the shows are just going to be like this. We've done cookie cutter shows, and they were the worst. They were the worst in our career, as far as I'm concerned. I won't get into too much of that, but you can get bought out as an individual, you know, when you're doing something for this band, this company, whatever. Like bands kind of are companies in a way. They're like small businesses, even though bands traditionally don't really do well with business. And I would say, people say I'm a good business person, but really I'm not. I just have hustle, and I have a brain, and I kind of look at the world, and I try to understand what the world is doing. And I try to not copy everything, because I absolutely don't do social media the way that everybody does social media. You know, everybody kind of has their thing, but I try to just be myself online and make videos that make sense for us. Now, I'm not saying that we're doing a great job at it. We can improve, absolutely, and we're trying to improve. We're actually, you know, I had a phone call about that last week about some things we want to start building up and doing online. But you know, going back to the analogy of the project and the naysayer and the idea of doing a project, but then you get a bunch of people adding on to the project and it becomes so big that it doesn't feel doable anymore. That's because people are perfectionists. They feel like, hey, this is a good idea, but it could be better, you know? And I do that with songs. But I do that right away and fix it, and then we present it. Like, it's not like, okay, let's make this song into an opus where we have the Philharmonic Orchestra come in. We've got, we've got Metallica coming in, doing some backup parts. So, you know, like, it's just like, or okay, when's that happening? How is that happening? You know, you can have the idea, but if it's not execution, you know, if you can't execute on it right away, well, and if you can't execute on it in a somewhat timely manner, then you're just kind of wasting your time, and you're wasting everybody's time in that room. So I think the lesson there is just make whatever the idea that sparks, make that idea and make it, and then go make the other thing after that. Like do what the idea is right away. And if it really isn't a good idea, you're going to find out pretty quickly. But at least you haven't called 4 moms and you're like, all right, can we fly out and film this and do that? And then you get all the footage together and you're just like, this doesn't work. At least you know, if you just go out and do the mom that you know in town where you are, make the thing, boom. If it's great, you know you can add on to it. But if it's not, you're like, okay, I thought that was going to be better, but let's move on. Let's move on to the next idea. So I think embrace the mess, prioritize results, make things. And, you know, like make things even when they're not perfect. I think that's important. And especially if you work for yourself or if you have any sort of creativity going on in your job, I think just become a kid again in that way. Like just try things. Like you don't know how many times I'm on my phone and I'm just making a video on CapCut or on, you know, some app. And I get into it so much. It's like a half hour later and I'm like, I don't even know if I can, there's no reason I would be posting this. This is silly. This doesn't really go anywhere. But I was just a kid. I was just finger painting. I was just making a mess, right? Now, I think Darren Doane would say, no, go ahead and post that because who cares, right? The more you post, the better. I think that is true to an extent, to be honest, but I don't post everything I make. I've got some drafts, especially Twitter, X, on that, because that's like texting mostly. Like it's like writing a thought down. So I'll write a thought down, however horrible it is, and then I'll just save it to my drafts. And then sometimes I actually get a kick out of going back and just looking at my drafts and reading those tweets and laughing and going, whoa, that was a day. I remember that day. So, yeah, I think Darren Doane did a great job with his book. Shout out to Darren. He's been on the podcast, and he in case people are like, who's Darren? He directed Chick Magnet. He directed Punk Rock Show for MxPx. He directed Move to Bremerton, Teenage Politics. The list goes on. And he directed a ton of new videos for our new album, Find a Way Home. So he directed Ready to Rage. He directed When We Broke Through. He did 9 videos, by the way. So like almost every video on the record he directed. So he's somebody that I absolutely look up to as a businessman, as a family man, as a father, as a professional. He's just really good, and his personality is top notch. He's so fun to be around. That's never a bad thing, to be fun to be around. So I can't say I'm always fun to be around, but I try to be fun to be around when I'm with people. When I'm by myself, I don't act fun to be around. I'm not sitting there like performing when I'm by myself. But yeah, I think this punk rock philosophy has a lot of do's and don'ts, has a lot of rules, but also has a lot of rules that you should break. Don't be precious, get out there and make things. Don't be afraid to fail. But at the same time, you know, whatever you want to do, right? Like go out and do it. That's it. That's the way to make things work. Do work, speed, utility, be useful, and, execution, right? Like making things is the top priority. So when I'm talking about me on my phone scrolling or just like getting in finger painting on some app, making a video that'll never see the light of day, maybe I just need to tweak my mind a little bit and go, what needs to be made? But at the same time, I can finger paint and have fun with that, and maybe eventually get to a point where I'm experimenting, but I'm also using that as a post. So like, it does happen. Sometimes, my TikTok is a little funky. I'm on TikTok. It's just Mike Herrera TD. Very, very meager at this point. Probably one of my smallest platforms as far as people following me. But I got in really late. I just got in really kind of, I want to say at the end of last year or this year. But I feel like on TikTok, I can kind of post anything and there's no rules. There's no rules at all. So, all right, you guys, Punk Rock Philosophy 101. I hope you got something out of this. I'm sure I missed something, but I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate Bob for producing the podcast. Bob McKnight has his podcast, The Bob and Katie Show. And to be honest, I accidentally listened to an episode the other day. It just came on after I was listening to something, and I just kept listening to it. It was great. It's fun. They don't talk about politics. They talk about life issues, and they make it funny. So I appreciate you, Bob, and I appreciate everybody else for listening. All right, get out there. Subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already done so. Like the podcast on whatever platform you're listening on. That would be a bare minimum kind of thing that would be amazing to have you do. And if you want to go further, please share the podcast with a friend. Maybe it's a certain episode, like, hey, check out this episode. I know you like this thing or this, whatever. That would mean a lot to me. All right. And do me a favor, share this podcast to Darren Doane. He just got back on Instagram. He was hacked. And so he was off Instagram for months and months and months, and he finally just he got back on. So I think it's just Darren Doane or something dealing with Darren Doane on his socials. All right, much love to you all. Much love to Darren. Thanks for writing a book we could talk about. I love it. The book is called Don't Be Precious. The cover is I want to say it's like a little baby seal, so it's very cute, very cute. And David Shannon did the artwork, or he came up with the artwork for that and put it together with Darren. But it's Darren's book, and David Shannon just he's a podcaster as well and works with Darren and does a lot of great stuff. He's a genius in and of himself, but I'm pretty sure Darren was the author of the book. Shout out, y'all. All right. Until next time, hopefully next week. Peace.